Ladies and gentlemen, praise God and welcome in. This is the Matthew Dark Show. Now remember, hit subscribe everywhere you get your shows. Never miss an episode. We're going to cut right to it. The only thing that's going to matter in America next week is the Congress is going to vote to release the Epstein files. Okay. And the Americans that have been on Trump's side, MAGA side, and you're a conspiracy theorist, you're anti-Israel, remember, if you want the thing released, you're anti-Trump, you're anti-America, you're blah, 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 blah. Folks, it's all coming to a head about a week from today. Mike Johnson, and remember, Mike Johnson is a homosexual, a pervert, but he's a Speaker of the House. He's actually intentionally withheld the confirmation of the special election winner in Arizona. That was going to be the signature tying breaking vote to get this forced vote next week. Mike Johnson is yet to set a date, but let me just lay it out to you, folks. There is an absolutely overwhelming chance that Congress votes to say, release the documents. And then what's going to happen in those documents is you're going to see all these political heroes that you thought, yeah, I'll give him my $100 and go get him. He's fighting. You're going to find out he had kids locked in his closet. You're going to find out he was taking flights to the island and that he saw some of the most horrific stuff. And we as the American people have to be able to embrace that and say, oh my goodness, everything I thought I knew is probably wrong. I want to rethink my entire life. I want to make new decisions. These people aren't worthy to lead me or my family. Bringing in Shawn Young, of course, in the fight. We can't stop talking. We won't stop talking. Where we see lies and deceit being spewed upon us in any of our affairs, we have to call that out. This is a major moment. The emails that have already kind of come out on this, they don't look good from Trump. I mean, here's my fear. Trump is not the star of this story. There are going to be much more heinous characters involved that, Donald Trump, yeah, he knew a lot. He was there a lot. I don't know exactly whether or not he's put himself as the center of this thing when there's so many other players. And so it's a big moment coming up. If we get the truth and we demand the truth, I don't think America's ever the same. What do you think?
I mean, it's insane. We're living history right now. It's exciting um, to see so many people standing up and demanding the truth and refusing to just be run over like we have for so long. Um, it's encouraging and it gives me hope. And all the distractions they've thrown at us up to this point, all the different ways they've tried to, shut this thing down or silence everyone. And so if it really is going to come to a head and we're really going to get answers next week, that's exciting.
It's culture changing because I hear all the time how many Americans, and I'm just looking over here, we're going to Thomas Massey is about the only person in Congress right now that you could actually say, I don't think he's there for the money because look at what he's doing. I don't think he's there to gain popularity. Look at what he's doing. He's actually touching the most sensitive topic on earth, the Epstein files, and the heart of the Epstein files. The Epstein files are going to take us to some dark places. We know about what they did with the children. I think where most people's mind kind of wants to shut off, I think they know that stuff goes on. I think it's upsetting. I think to think, though, that your people that you thought were in charge of you were participating in that and hiding that. And ask yourself, if you're a parent of a sex traffic victim and your president of the United States is calling us losers and Democrat hoax believers, that is just not a warm and comforting feeling. And so I think I have to be in the shoes of the victim's family to say, yeah, I understand this didn't affect you, so you probably aren't as passionate. But my goodness, don't you want to live in a culture where something happens to a child and the community is on hand? We want to get to the bottom of this. We want to provide protection and closure. I mean, it has to go there. If this is the pain of this process where we get back to children, community, a loving type of approach to people, you can never obtain that and have those kind of people in power that say, yeah, send me another kid, send me another woman, whatever the case may be. You simply can't proceed in a make America great again environment without cleaning up this garbage. That has to be fair for most Americans to believe, right?
Absolutely. And to me, the biggest concern is anytime people in power make mistakes or screw up or, do something that's the most evil thing there is, somehow there's never accountability and they take whatever that situation is to justify putting new laws in place, putting more control in place, giving them more power and taking it away from the people. And so my biggest hope is as we start, like you said, this is a cultural shift. This is the changing of times. But my biggest thing I always try to tell people is anything we can do to take money, power, control away from the government should be everybody's goal. And I think you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, I think we lock arms on that because, like, who cares? Yeah, you really enjoy writing your taxes every year? No. You really enjoy the fact that groceries are $400 a week and they were 100 not that long ago? That should make everybody sick to their stomach. And so we have to say, yeah, but I hate Trump so much, I'm going to go along with it to spite him or whatever. There's too much of that. When we understand as a culture that they're all scumbags and they're all stealing from you and that they don't care about your kids at all, now we got a shot to take it back. This is my biggest fear because I actually have more hope in Democrats with this process than I do in Republicans. Republicans have gone on this, and it's happening all over the place. Dinesh D'Souza, Mark Levin, um, Dave Rubin, these rhino people that are going to now put a fork in the road and say, we're conservatives, we're MAGA, and we're for Israel and sort of this fantasy of Trump's new America, where they tell us this is the greatest economy ever. Baloney. I deal with regular people all day, every day. They don't have any money. Okay. Everything has gotten more expensive and it's frozen there. You can't supposed to say that the average American is any better today than they were before Trump got in. Why? Because eggs. I just bought a dozen organic grass or free range eggs, $11.99 for 12. It's $1 an egg. I'm sorry, that was half that just 10 years ago. That doesn't work, that math. A brand new Dodge Ram truck in 2005, 50 grand. That same thing's close to 100 today. So where is the attention on that? We really do believe in our heart of hearts that the same system that's protecting these Epstein perpetrators, these monsters, we're feeding that monster with our taxes, our choices of where we spend our money. I think we have discussed this before. I would love to start an organization, and totally free to join, but we are assassins when it comes to industries that piss us off or companies that have really made a bad decision when it comes to the well-being of our children and the safety of our communities. So I picked Netflix for one. Now, I'll be straight up. I don't believe Christians should be have a Netflix subscription. I don't believe that because they promote such smut. Certainly not appropriate for children because of what they've weaseled in there. So what if 50 million Christians, MAGAs, said tomorrow, on the count of 3, we hit cancel subscription? So 40, and what's a Netflix? Call it $10. So 40 million times 10, or $400 million a month just left the system. Now the kingdom needs the money too. So we suck that money and we build it over here. New industries emerge. But then it's like, okay, well, who else has made us mad? Who else has disappointed us? Because eventually where we're leading with all this is taxes. 100 million of us that have now joined in force, we're not paying any taxes. What were you going to do about it? Nothing? Okay, I didn't think so. Here's what we're willing to do. No taxes. We'll pay some sales tax, and then you guys figure out the budget based on what's left over. That's what we'll be willing to do. And if the salaries are not adequate to your liking, please step down. We never intended you to be a millionaire, Nancy Pelosi, a millionaire, Chuck Schumer, a millionaire, Mitt Romney. We never intended you guys to become mega millionaires as a result of getting elected to office in some little county district that you represent. That was never the intent of the founders. So, the flip side, I would say, is there's all that potential if we release the files and have a genuine, and we're not, because Kash Patel is a sadistic Hindu liar, has no problem doing that right to your face. Same thing with Pam Bondi. Same thing with the press secretary Levitt. She's married to a guy 30 years her senior. And I just find that disgusting. And for whatever reason that is, because you figure they've been married a few years. So here she is, 28. The guy's 60. You guys are soulmates? Really? I didn't think so. But we'll play along for a little bit and pretend you're a perfect family with your granddad and all that. So we have a chance to drain the swamp. We have a chance to clean things up that are causing us inconvenience. Here's my greater fear is that Kash Patel is a habitual, proven liar. That's not me saying that. That's his own words. That's demonstrable. A liar. What on earth would compel these guys now at this moment, with all attention on, to give us a fair, honest, transparent breakdown of the case and then a pursuing? What incentive is it of the government's or Donald Trump's to go ahead and say the people want it? I mean, how could they come out okay having done that, knowing there's some pretty big players in there? I don't know. What do you think?
That's why I just really don't believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they've lied to us over and over and over. So how can we believe anything that they say? Um, I mean, it feels like we're getting set up right now for another cycle where we're going to get smashed as an economy.
Yes.
The left is going to be going crazy. There's going to be violence going everywhere. The stock market's going to crash. Crypto's going to crash. And the middle class and lower class are going to get smashed. And the elites are going to get, all the benefits like they did during COVID. Um, so that's what I see happening. But
And I don't think it's not being advertised that way. It's being advertised much differently to the American person, that's got like a false sense of security with economy for sure. Again, I'm not sitting there saying, poor me, look at me. I just know that the rate in which lifestyles are getting more and more expensive, we have to turn that off at some point. What is going to be the mechanism to say, we just can't go up 10% a year, 3% per year, every year from these prices? Because the reality is we're already to the brim and on credit card debt.
plus we live in a society and culture that is based on lies. And
Yep.
people that have the most money, people that have houses, people that are successful, people that go on vacations, these are most of them are liars, are scumbags, cheated their way up to the top. I mean, that's your attorneys, that's your doctors, that's your politicians, all your people in society that we always thought were these great people because they had some sort of success. And now where everything's turned to where everything is basically a lie that we've always believed in. Um, so yeah, it's just interesting times.
It's disappointing times in the sense that I'm more like you. I think you could tell the average MAGA person that Trump did it. He's covered it up. These people did it. They've covered it up. I just feel like we're so dead inside that they don't care. I want to look at this. This is Tom Massey. Hold on a second here, because this is really valuable. What Thomas Massey is about is all we have left from a advocate. We want to talk about an advocate in the here we go, share sound. We thought it was Trump. We thought we had the number one defender of the American people, the Constitution, in the White House, calling all the shots. That's not how it's turning out to be. We do still have Thomas Massey. He was with CNN. This is just yesterday. Let's play this and see what they're doing.
Spoken against the White House, but you don't generally disagree with some of the things that President Trump does or has run on policy-wise. How do you explain to voters why the president is fighting your discharge petition or fighting the release of these documents from the Justice Department?
Well, I vote with my party 91% of the time, and which means I have agreed with the president 91% of the time. But when they're protecting pedophiles, when they are blowing our budget, when they are starting wars overseas, I'm sorry, I can't go along with that. And back home, people agree with me. They understand, even the most ardent Trump supporters understand sometimes he gets bad advice, sometimes he gives bad advice, and we wouldn't model our lives after him, his personal life, and they're okay with that. I mean, you can still like Donald Trump in Kentucky and like what I'm doing and what Ro Khanna is doing, which is trying to get transparency.
Well, and you were actually, we were watching Adelita Grajava be sworn in today, and as soon as she was sworn in, she walked over and signed this discharge petition. Seconds later, you went up and shook her hand, as you noted, before any other Democrats had actually even ever gotten over to her side.
I also, you couldn't hear what I said, but I apologized to her for what my own party did, which was to keep her from being sworn in and depriving an entire congressional district of representation for 49, 50 days, which, you know, I won a special election myself. I think I was sworn in within a week. And there was no reason to delay this other than the petty thing that now the speaker is accelerating. He tried to delay this vote. He deprived a congressional district of a congressperson. And now he says, well, okay, I guess I lost. We'll have the vote next week.
So he speaks like we're speaking. Okay. Yeah, we do support Donald Trump. And most of what he does is in line with our expectations. That I'm well said. When it comes to pedophilia, there's no negotiation. Whether you're my dad, my best friend, or the president, it just crosses a line for me. I stop supporting sight on scene. You know, to me, what he was kind of hinting at there, though, is that you can like what Thomas Massey's doing in Kentucky, and you can also support President Trump. I think that's true for now. I think if we find out, though, that there was a concerted effort to hide this, and that he actually had a lot more involvement, a lot more attendance, a lot more participation, I think that's where it starts to say, I can't respect any of you people. You're all in the same bucket of trash. You said you were different. You turned out to be even worse. And so it's a huge moment. That's why I can't imagine. I couldn't actually fathom how the Democrats let Trump win in 2024. I know for a fact the 2020 election was a rigged, stolen, fake election. It's no way. There was no 81 million, these votes that came in over the middle of the night, 100 straight thousand for Joe Biden, all these lies that we were told, changing all the voting rules, off the charts mail-in votes for that thing. So we know it was a fake. Now you could say, well, that was a good thing for America because it brought us to this or whatever. But the fact that
that's why they invented COVID, was to do the mail-in. So anyway, continue.
And you're right that they had. How would you just go to all of a sudden mass mail-in voting without that? You had to. So see, this is the wickedness, and it's the brilliance of the left and the powers that be. It's not just the left, but that group that runs and calls all the shots. That's brilliance. Here's what we're going to do. I mean, think about that when you say that out loud, because we can never forget COVID. We can't forget 9/11 or COVID or any of these things. But this is a serious situation, is that they invented a virus that they know would hurt people. They already had concocted a vaccine that they knew would hurt people, that would come out in appropriate timing, all to get to a stolen election in which we can open our border, flood the economy with fake printed money, get inflation, shut down the mom and pops, seize control, and cement our power permanently. They did that, and they ruined the country in the process. That's diabolical. That's well said. But since COVID has come to play, and we still have never returned to normal, of course, and we never will. Once you give them this kind of access to your lives and power and control and fear, they don't give it back freely unless it's taken by force. This comes to a point. Donald Trump could go from the greatest president of all time, historic figure of the world, right? If this goes well. If it goes poorly, he's Hitler. He's thought of as some of the most Mao. He's thought of as some of the why? Everything you lied to us this whole time. So you're exposed as a liar, and you were covering up a crime that most men, if they got you in a private room and knowing you did that, you're not going to get out of that room. You're going to get beaten to death with a baseball bat. That's the impulse from most Americans when we found out you did what to a child. And that's a healthy thing. We should be responding, because the day we're saying, oh, that's too bad, he should stop doing that, we're in trouble. And we're basically there. So when you get the files released and we say, these are the people, these are what they did, are you still happy with the system they've created for you? I have enough faith in people that, again, if we get the full story, this over for all these guys. I mean, doesn't that have to be? And if it's not, we're in trouble.
Well, I mean, what I think about is when I looked at Trump get sworn in at the beginning of the year, and just thinking, finally, this is our chance. We're taking the wrecking ball. All these things we've waited all these years for and fought for, is now going to happen. And now I think, man, this whole MAGA Trump is dead. And so, with so much information out there and the AI stuff that people can create,
Ugh.
and like you said, the brilliance of COVID and just the people behind that whole, just how they took us out the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, well, one, was Trump involved in the whole COVID thing? Was he involved in the fake election thing?
It's
Was he
on the
involved
table.
in that? Was the assassination attempt? Were all these things, him getting drugged through all the courts and just going through hell with all that, was that real, or was this all a stage?
Yeah.
And so as we're, demanding for the truth on the left and the right, and everyone's kind of, agreed that it's just a uniparty, us versus them. Well, if Trump is a decent person, because like you said, he's done way better than Biden, and we're in a much better place with him than Kamala. And so if the evil is trying to take that out because that's the better option, or the good, if you will,
Yeah.
it's just so hard to trust anything when you can't trust anything.
And I think one of the government plays is they work on fear and chaos, but they have to also, they can never really allow distrust to go too far. I mean, at some point, that's why you have to squash these conspiracy theorists from their perspective, because it's like they've been lying about everything. I say that like I'm very comfortable saying that, like all day, every day. You didn't go to the moon. It wasn't Osama bin Laden at 9/11. Joe Biden didn't win any elections. COVID was a fake. They killed, there was no Lee Harvey Oswald in the book suppository for Kennedy. But that's my fear, is that, are we going to respond like we did to Kennedy? Because nobody seemed to care that there was a conspiracy to kill Kennedy, not some lone freak.
Right. Well, and then you mentioned Hitler earlier.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing all this new stuff come out on Hitler and the reality of all that. And so when you just go back to hundreds of years ago and just have no idea because we've been lied to so much,
Yes. It
I
makes
don't
you
know what we
question
do.
everything. And again, when you
Right.
start doing that, I mean, it's like, I think of it like so many people look at the government as their parent, or at least that kind of a figure. And same thing, if I find out that my dad was this like flaming homosexual with this extreme lifestyle going on this whole time, and I never knew, and here I am like all into my dad and looking up, and I find out that, I don't know that I could handle that. Honest, I would freak the what out. And so for so many people, they've said, "You're my daddy," government guy or Trump guy. You're dad, and so you don't want to believe that dad would do those things, but some dads do. And so this dad, although you love your dad, when your dad goes astray and commits horrible crime, you need to know that that's not okay to look the other way just because it's dad. And so Donald Trump, same kind of thing. And it really ties in second part here. So we have the Epstein lies going, and these all go back to Israel. Of course, we'll talk about the connection, but we still have a major cover up going on in Charlie Kirk world. And it's actually more obvious every day, right? Delays in trials, outfits, the scenarios are still not matching up with the bullet trajectory, the bullet size, the bullet angle. I don't think people appreciate with this, and they did break this down. I saw this well done. But Utah law does not allow for the wife signature to override a mandated autopsy, but they did in this case. And there's audio recording of their team talking about, Erica's flying in, she's going to get the body, doctor signed the death certificate at the hospital, there's no need for autopsy. So they've gone completely astray from policy in this case. The FBI, Kash Patel, has seized all the video from the hospital where Charlie was being seen. That's being reported this week too. We've never seen the videos from behind Charlie. Again, we don't have an autopsy, so it's hard to believe everything you say. You say that the neck bone stopped the 30-06. Can we see it? Can we see what the x-ray of that looks like? Because it's a miracle. They described it as a miracle. It saved a lot of lives that had happened. And we're not getting any of that. The two are very tied together. I believe it's the same players involved that are, it'd be best for them for nobody to know what happened to Charlie Kirk. And it would be best to know for them if nobody knew what happened at the Epstein files. does one break into the other? I guess if we get a bad result on the Epstein, does it squash the Charlie Kirk motivation to see that one all the way through, or does it add steam? And it's like we got Epstein rolling, and now Charlie Kirk's rolling, because this all brings us back to a deep, corrupted, filthy political state that we just can't tolerate anymore. What do you think? Do those two come together, or does one kill the other?
Um, I mean, for me, it's a beautiful thing as far as it's putting such a big spotlight on the evil within the state of Utah.
Yes,
Um,
right.
I mean, putting Spencer Cox in the spotlight, putting Cash Patel standing next to Spencer Cox.
Yes.
Even Trump saying they're doing a great job with the whole thing.
Yes.
We start seeing all these bad actors that I know are really bad people, and then I see Cash Patel standing next to him, and I hear President Trump saying all is well. It just makes me go, wow, why, how come Spencer Cox, how come the Mormons have so much clout? How come they have so much power to where Trump's not going in and saying, we're going to get answers, we're going to make this transparent? But a part of
Right.
me thinks, if it's a giant psyop, like a lot of people believe, is this intentional to root out the evil within Utah and the Mormon church? Because there's a lot of very bad things that happen in this state. Um,
Right.
I don't know if you saw, I saw this one guy did a thing on YouTube where that camera box behind Charlie that you see his
Yes.
guys grabbing right after,
Yes.
he claims it was like a projector thing that like it can put out a thing where
Like a
say
hologram.
like a hologram. And I thought that was a pretty interesting video,
Yeah.
but there's so many different ones. But something I thought about the other day, just as I'm living my life and going through, my struggles with the government and
Yes.
that footage that you helped me out a lot with that I've
Yes.
put out there.
Yes.
And at the time, I thought these guys wanted to kill me. And, the video isn't great, but it kind of looks like that. And even if they didn't kill me, they threw me in jail for 8 months and kidnapped me. And
Right.
so in August, when we were talking, and I thought my attorney said I was going back to jail, I was basically having all these conversations with Dulce and my family and, making a strategy of, you know, if I go to jail, if I were to die, well, here is all this information that is very important stuff that needs to be in, 10 different places with 10 different people, that if something happens to me,
Right.
all this stuff is there. And so I think of Charlie Kirk, and he was, a million times bigger than somebody like me, and knew his life would be on the line based on his mission in life and what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so he would have, I mean, he was a brilliant, intelligent human. And for them to botch this thing as bad as they did,
They did.
I mean, if it was a real assassination, as soon as he was taken out, his family would have come forward, Erica would have come forward. They would have had all this stuff to release immediately, I believe,
Yes.
because that's what I would have, or that's how I would have planned it if I get taken out. And so, and then the whole idea of Tyler Robinson, the fake killer
Right.
that disappeared since it happened, and
Yeah.
they just keep pushing court hearings out. And then there's 6 prosecutors, there's 3 defense attorney, they're stealing money from Utah County taxpayers to fund these people. So it's just a gigantic money grab. It's all these bad actors. Mike Smith, the sheriff of Utah County, Spencer Cox's brother-in-law, is known for taking people out. I'm just
Yep.
saying. So it stinks, but are they
It does.
connected? I think more people are asking questions now and raising hell than I've ever seen. So I think it's just going to continue.
I think you're right. It feels like Israel knows it's getting closer to being caught. It feels like there's an intensive desperation to keep this dirty, filthy secret covered, and the desperation is intense. I mean, let's go back to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk appeared on the David Patrick Betts show after October 7th, and he said, "Was there a stand down? Was there a stand down?" Meaning, did the IDF intentionally delay their response so that they could accumulate? He said that pretty soon after the event, and that's what started it. We've seen the text messages. We've seen what he was questioning. He says, I am sick of these Jewish donors holding me prisoner to achieve their agenda. Sick of it, he said it. And so I think, and then you saw the stuff, the activity with Trump. I mean, again, we are on the table. Was Trump, was he a participant in the faking of his assassination in Butler, PA? I don't know. But what we do know, that's also not been properly discovered and properly dissolved as this is what happened. We know nothing about the poor autistic kid that they took out as supposedly this another lone gunman. I mean, you can see how the FBI and the CIA, they got on this lone gunman thing early. And this is back from like the 50s, the boogeyman, oh, the crazy guy, the stalker, the night killer. They just don't exist. It's pretty hard to put together the complicated assassinations that these guys are supposedly putting together, and they just be regular loser nerdy guys, but they got PO'd one day, and we can't find the trans lover of Tyler Robinson. She's gone AWOL. So, but it feels like they're so close to being caught and exposed, and the desperation is going to do this. I think of three things coming up next week. I can't imagine the level of threatening talk that's going on right now between the White House and all the conservatives. I can't imagine the threats that are not going on right now or are going on right now with Thomas Massie. He is the face of release the files at the Congress level. We pray for him. Keep his head on a swivel, double up your security. He will be targeted for assassination, no doubt. You know, they killed his wife. His wife died in the summer or whatever when this started coming. So they took his wife out, sudden death there too. So he knows that's a message sent. And he said, I don't care. I'm pursuing it. I think you guys are scum. I think you're doing things to kids that are filthy and disgusting. And I think your time is up. I think that's what he's doing for us. So what I would actually want to do is I want to come back and do something as soon as we see the release. And we're going to do a follow-up. And this is what I want to put some money on the table before we get into the results and what could happen, because three things really I think could happen. The biggest thing is this vote is going to take place in Congress to say release or no release. That's going to be our very first indication of where the powers that be are. When they vote no as a body to not release these files, and I actually think that's what we're going to have, is a no vote on the files. They never come out, and it'll be because of Republicans. They all said no. You're going to have this situation in America where, okay, so they've lied to us. They're now using their power to make sure we don't get to the bottom of this. At that exact moment, support should flee. This I'm all in for the United States. It should stop right there. And we demand questions. Then we actually start to have to pressure President Trump. And as a MAGA base, the threat to President Trump is this: release the files or get impeached next year. End of story. Get impeached, you'll have to step down, and you must receive a presidential pardon from J.D. Vance, or you're going to jail. These are the consequences if you don't give us the files. Is there any questions, Mr. President? That has to be the attitude of every single voter. The Democrats are already all in on that. They could care less. If you shot Donald Trump, just like Charlie Kirk, Democrats would celebrate it. So they are going to be all in for his demise. That's the tricky area, though. We cannot bypass all the other bad players to get to Donald Trump. He shouldn't have done what he did. This is an epic, all-time just blunder. I mean, you cannot explain this any other way. The lyings, the sloppiness. Remember the stupid binders that they gave to the influencers to go report on, and it was all fake. It was all fake. Thinking we would just be like, okay, well, hey, I guess they checked it out. Nothing there. What else is going? What time's the game on? You know, and they just thought Americans would go back to their life and be lied to and be okay. I don't think we are.
Well, and the other question is, if they tried to basically take him out through lawfare, they tried to take him out by assassinating him, why didn't they take him out with the Epstein files when they had the power, full power of everything? It's
so much bigger than him. It's so much bigger than him. And that's because everybody always says that, oh, if Trump was really in there, they would have released it 10 years ago. That's one of the talking points on the right? And here's why. Right. Once you won't be able to manipulate these files enough to make it look like it was just Epstein and Trump. There's no way. They understand that the reach of this thing, once you say, okay, let's go get him, you're going to have to sacrifice a ton of your own and a ton of your own prosperity. It's going to have a rippling effect. Money, the donations are gone. The attitude of the people is now of distrust. if you're a politician getting your free money, free health care, bribes whenever you want, and all that, what is your incentive to undo that? Why would you want to intentionally rock the boat? You're doing well. You're in a position of power. You have plenty of money. You're going to keep moving up in politics. Do you want to be the one that steps out of line and breaks this whole system? I don't think you do. Very few, and that's the problem without having term limits and not having this for the people, by the people, is that you get these people and they're going to protect the longevity of their political life over the interest of the American people. And that's where we have to say, this is the moment we said enough. This is the moment where America was taken back by the people because their leaders had betrayed them. Their leaders had taken them down into some, and Revelations is very clear about this. And Romans speaks to this. When leaders of nations give their people over to sin, that's when you know they're done. When the leaders stop fighting for the best interests of their people, it's over. Because what are we going to go do? We're going to be heathens. We're going to eat. We're going to do sex. We're going to do addictions. We're going to do all that stuff. If left, we're told this culture don't allow that. We got to act like this. And we don't have that in America at all. So we're just depending on the organic movement of the American people to say, yeah, we've had enough of this. You can't have any more of my money. We're voting you out, blah, blah, blah. I hope that this has enough impact in the American people, but I don't think we're going to get it because I think the consequences are too high. And so you deal with this very messy aftermath of nobody trusts the government, even MAGA people now, why would you not release it? If you're a Republican representing some district in Texas, outside of getting attacked by Donald Trump or potentially, blackmailed yourself, why would you want to withhold this? That's what I don't understand. So it's obvious because of the way they behave around the files that there is something so juicy in the files, or why would you behave like this?
But, I mean, to me, I think it kind of reminds me of the analogy with attorneys. So attorneys go through law school. A lot of times they'll go work as a prosecutor in a DA's office. And basically their bosses have them work a case, prosecute somebody, violate all their rights, break all kinds of laws. And so now that is something that the DA's office can use against them for their entire career. And so I believe the same thing in politics is they have so much dirt on so many of these guys sleeping with, little kids or
little cocaine at the party
or drugs or whatever you want to say that these people are doing, but they have that dirt on them and they say, okay, you want to screw me, I'm going to screw you. Yeah. And that's just the whole group.
And that system ain't going to work. And it never was designed like that. The founders mentioned nothing about that. Is let's just give all the people all these rights. And then once we get in Congress, we'll be these absolute disgusting monsters. We'll sleep with everything we see. We'll steal. We'll do this. I don't believe that was ever the intention of the founders. And I think they'd be appalled at what we've allowed to have happen. I want to do this. I want to put us both on the record. There will be no release. It'll be a dud. It'll be a disappointment. It'll either get kicked way out into the future or just simply say we're not doing it. But we'll follow up and do something next week as well, because from that point, that's when history starts. Next week, when they say yes or no on the files, history starts, because we go one of two very clear directions as a country. One that's going to continue to erode and slip into like the Roman Empire. All these great empires have fallen. And America's no different when you choose to behave like that. Or we're going to get the rebirth of America, the cleansing of America, the time America said, we're better than this. That does not make it in our society. You're out. The money's gone. The power, the fame is gone. And now you have to go to jail. And we as American people don't like doing that, but we have to do that because we love our country. We love our children. God gave us this great land, and you've abused it, and you've absolutely taken it to the worst. I said this morning on a call in, you could potentially justify every crime out there. Stealing, murder. Guy took my wife, I killed him. Doesn't make it right. I understand why. Raping a child, kidnapping a child, there's not one possible explanation of why you thought you could do that or why you had. Crimes against children never have an appropriate excuse, ever, ever, ever. And it's the only crime like that. And so America, wake up. America, bring your heart back to life. Ask the Holy Spirit to move and say, God, give me a purpose I can fight for an area. I'll fight for the child abuse. I'll fight for the trafficking. Feed me. But we need you working on these other areas too, because this is just one area of the swamp. They're stealing from us. They're letting drugs into our community. They're promoting promiscuity and abortion, all these things that are ruining the culture. We now have to say enough's enough. Where's your calling? Okay, I'm going to be on abortion. I'm going to say it's disgusting to wait until birth and decide if you want to have the baby or not. I think it's disgusting. So I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to see a truth speaker. And I just don't care if that's offensive to you. We're beyond the point of hurting feelings. Why? Lives are on the line. Lives are on the line, and your kids' lives are on the line. What a terrible country to come up in, where homosexuality and LGBTQ rule the day, BLM and DEI rule the day, the deceit and deception and inflation and taxation rule the day. That's a terrible country. It's not going to work. It kills the American dream. This is the moment. So history starts next week. We will connect and do one. What's the best places people want to follow the story? They want to stay in tune with the fight in Utah and the freedom of speech journey.
My page is Utah Corruption.
Now, this is pretty good stuff. Your stuff is doing pretty well. And what I love about it is if you're needing perspectives of free speech, it's global. It's happening in all places all over the world where they're saying, okay, government has crossed the line and we're fighting back. The problem is groups like us, talking like us, it's a small group. We have to be contagious in our truth seeking, contagious in our courage. They could never handle all of us, not in a million years. If we said, you know what, I don't care, I'm broke, I have no prospects, you've destroyed my family, what do I have to lose? Sorry, government, your days are numbered. And for most people, that's just such a, but this is the government, but this is Ted Cruz, but this is this. These are nothing people, and they've destroyed your great country. So that's what I want to put us as a teaser.
I was going to tell you too.
Yes.
This morning, I had a guy send me, there's this YouTube documentary called The God Makers.
Yes.
You ever heard of it?
No.
So, yeah, so it was in 1982. You can look it up on YouTube. And I only watched the first 10 minutes. It looked like it was about an hour. God Makers. But it sounded like they were explaining the exact same situation that I'm living right now. And tying it all to the church and the ins and outs, and they got some attorneys in Los Angeles. And anyway, like I said, I'm only 10 minutes in, but it looks really, really good. And when I started sharing it with different members of the church, just on some text messages, they're like, oh yeah, that caused me a lot of problems when I did my mission trying to convert people. And I said, well, no kidding. It would, I wouldn't have ever been a member if I saw all this stuff. And so, to me, that was kind of cool, just to see something from 40 years ago, the same exact thing that was happening. These guys laid it out. Why have I never heard of this in 7 years if this is the exact same thing that I'm fighting? And so I think, I'm going to watch that. They did a part 2, and then there was even 3 other videos that they sent to me. But that's the thing about now having information at our fingertips like we do, and then with AI to feed us information, is all the information that we really need to bring the truth out, to succeed, to make the world better is all there. It's just figuring out how to focus and how to spend our time making ourselves better, and then figuring out what we need to do with that. And as I've gone through my stuff, I've, since that body cam footage came out, and I really appreciated you jumping on and helping me when I reached out. And, hey, can I pay you? And you wouldn't even let me pay you.
Of course not. Not for a brother in a fight.
And so, but I do believe with what I've been seeing these last few weeks, that my story is going to be a big story based on being jailed for freedom of speech, being jailed for wanting to be a father, being jailed just for speaking the truth of what is happening within the Mormon community and within the state of Utah. And I reached out to you the other day just because I wanted to say thank you. Sure. I've had so many people that God's put in my life over the past 7 years. Yes. But most recently, you've really made an effort and done everything you can to help me. Sure, and don't expect anything and haven't expected anything in return. And so I really appreciate that. And
absolutely.
I see a future where we can do a lot of good things together, because it's difficult finding good people fighting these fights. And so
Pursuing the truth is not fun. It doesn't make you a lot of friends. In fact, it's what's the point? But the point is this: the moment guys like you say, all right, I've been doing this 7 years, so I'm done. I'm done. Just whatever you won, you take it. That's how they got to the position they're in right now. And so what we say is, and it's a small group. It's a small group that prosper the many. But it does become contagious. So we'll get in fight with any case, anytime, anywhere where we have injustice going on, manipulation going on, deceit going on, and the people performing those acts are actually being promoted and being elevated and being told you're doing a good job. I don't stand for that. Again, that's how we got here. People that were not serving our interest and in positions of authority betrayed us. And so the betrayal is over. We're coming full onslaught. We attack. We don't care. We do it as much as we can because you don't know what person's going to hear a story and their heart gets turned on. That's why you do these things. And if you just get one person that now is on fire that says, yeah, you're right, this is bull crap. They're doing what to kids? This is bull crap. They're doing what to families? This is bull crap. They're doing what to the your ability to earn an income, 50% taxation, no young people can buy a house. This is bull crap, man. I'll get involved in that. What do you have to lose? Because the system is telling you right now, yeah, come in here. We'll chew you up, spit you out, buddy. We'll get you on credit card debt. We'll get you rent a high-rise apartment for the rest of your life. Never have savings. Never get in there and just be grateful for everything you get. You could break that today. And I do think it has to do with our pocketbooks. We spend where the kingdom is benefited. We can't put any money into Satan's pocket. And so one of the things out of this that I would say, okay, I want a club. And maybe it's only 100 people. Maybe we can only get 100 to start, but we want 1,000. Then we want 10,000. And then we want 1,000,000. And now we have a powerful force that says, okay, you violated Christian American values with your content or your product. I'm going to send an email. And at the stroke of that email, 40 million people, whatever you got, are going to cancel services with you. I wish you would have thought about that before you put that smut on TV. I wish you would have thought about that. I wish I would have known about that before I went to the mall and bought your product. But guess what? It'll never happen again. You can never have my money again. Let those industries die. You know, we used to have cab companies in America. They've died. So we can survive with the loss of industry. We can survive with the loss of Facebook. We can survive with the loss of Disney Plus. You'll be just fine. Your kids will be better. They'll be outside. That's where we're at, though, in America. We absolutely have to make our power known. And unfortunately, it's our numbers and our money. That's all we have to offer anymore. Our opinion, they're not listening, right? Our wishes of, hey, just close the border, please. They're not listening. They don't care about that stuff. They do care about my donations and my tax money.
Mm-hmm. Well, the biggest change that I've seen recently is the amount of people reaching out to me that work in the government or have the last 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
The different attorneys that I've talked to, the different people in law enforcement, the different people in political positions, openly having conversations of, Shawn, this is disgusting. I've watched it my whole life. I've watched the bad apples get promoted, and I'm getting ready to retire, and I don't need money. I don't need my pension. I don't need anything from these pricks, and I'm willing to go all in.
Yes.
And so,
and that's one thing too. We want to support and lift up whistleblowers. Whistleblowers, you're going to be the rock stars of the next decade. You've seen it. You've put their money. We want to support you. I mean, I don't know how you get there as an incentive because they're not treated well. They're threatened. It's pretty scary, especially when you want to talk about the government. But boy, we need those brave souls. Boy, we need to encourage them. We need to support them because you people speaking the truth for the world to hear, for firsthand testimony, we're either dead as a nation or we're going to respond as a nation. And so everyone, come one, come all, and let's do it. So yeah, your fight continues. Our fight continues. We have at least a opportunity. We'll be hopeful for next week because we're thinking, okay, you're responding. Now give us what we want, and we can set the record straight. We can be cool with Trump again, but you got to give us this stuff. And if you did do these crimes, we have to execute you. But as long as you give us the files and you didn't commit any rapes, we're cool, man. I can forgive you because that's an act of repentance and an act of, keeping your word. Do it not, you're impeached. Become impeached, go to jail, or die. But those are your options right now. Give us the files, or you're right back where you were in the summer of 2024, a courtroom or a hospital room. And that's not a threat to Donald Trump. I'm telling you, you don't have any friends left because the left hates you, and all these MAGA people you betrayed, they're very upset with you, and they're not going to kill you. They're just not going to vote for you, but that's death for you. If you have no votes from MAGA, that's a death sentence. I mean, remember, if he didn't beat Kamala, he would be in jail right now. Now, maybe he's appealing it to the Supreme Court. They had thrown the kitchen sink. They just had to get one to stick. He was going to do some degree of time somewhere, somehow. And he escaped that.
But don't you think, back to my original point of, he probably has so much information and so much dirt on so much bigger people, even than himself, world leaders, that it was, you put me in jail, you kill me. Well, here's these people that are going to release all this, and all of you are going to get wiped out. And I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and it is. Who's going to? It's the nuclear option, essentially. Like, who's going to be the first to push the button? Nobody really wants to do it. Everybody's pretty nervous to do it. Don't make me do it. If I do it, it's over for a lot of us. And I think that's what he knows. It's like dropping a grenade, or Samson in the Bible. He knocked down those walls and 3,000 Philistines died, including himself. So it's a huge sacrifice for your own comfort and potentially life to do it, even though, but see, that's the great stalemate. You know about me and I know about you. I don't think we need to talk about this anymore. Do you? And then we move on to other scandalous things. And that's exactly what's going on. But we're going to get that all corrected next week, and we'll do something again next week. And folks, do this until next time. Serve God, help others, stay good. Goodbye. God bless everybody.
The Matthew Dark Show, your one-stop show for truth, courage, fellowship, and faith. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.